TheFreeRotation podcast.
Are you guys making like UFO noises?
This is the anal probe sound.
Beep boop beep beep boop beep boop.
Are your
boop,
aliens robots?
Beep. Yep.
Maybe.
Boop beep beep boop.
They're little uwu butts.
Oh,
Ooh,
no.
ooh woo bots. Ooh woo. Ooh woo 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 woo.
Good morning, Free Rotation Podcast Nation. This is Chris. I'm here with Bobby the Hare,
Hi.
our technical director, Miss Angie,
Hello.
and our legal advisor, Becca.
Do woo woo woo. Ooh woo woo woo. Ooh. I'm real sleepy.
Becky, you're brown, not Asian. Quit fucking
You
cultural
don't tell
program.
me what Middle East is in Asia.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Checkmate atheists.
Racist. Any hoosel.
Awkward. Okay. Yeah.
Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects ever. We're going to talk about UFOs and aliens. And not like crazy, like your Uncle Jimbo was abducted and they put stuff in his butthole aliens,
Oh.
but like
gotta
legit stories that are at least somewhat confirmable.
Did you get
and
possessed by an alien?
Oh man, I think I did.
Also the stories that the Pentagon and the videos that they have released in the past year and the upcoming files are going to declassify and let us know about what they... And I say what they know loosely because they're never going to tell us everything they know, but they're at least going to give us some sort of information because they have confirmed videos of UFOs or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. There are 3 specific videos they've released from the Pentagon. They're called the gimbal video, the Go Fast video, and then the Tic Tac video.
And if you're thinking, aren't these the ones from 2007 and 17? Yes.
Yeah, they're
But
the
now
same
they've
ones.
officially been released and verified. Not just by the Navy, but by
The Pentagon themselves, yeah. They were like, yeah, these are real and we don't know what they are.
Which, screw you, Pentagon, for releasing stuff during a pandemic. You did it on purpose.
Yeah,
You knew
no
that
one would pay
nobody would be
attention.
talking about it. I knew it.
I don't trust the Pentagon, but I like the hexagon. That's kind of a wholesome joke for me.
It was, and I give you props for not sticking something up your
Oh,
butt.
we're about to right
Oh,
now.
yeah, we're about
I
to talk
didn't
about aliens.
know
My
that
bad.
counted as a joke.
It's happening.
We're-
So before we get into serious stuff, you know aliens anally probe us? I'm gonna anal probe an alien with my fist.
Wow.
What alien are you going to meet?
I
I mean, they may actually just do experiments on you just to figure out why your hair stands up the way it does.
damn right. I'm gonna stick it up at their butts.
Your
So,
hair? Wow.
gonna throw this out here right now.
Say why we shut the fuck up.
Not that I don't actually believe they do a lot of the probing things. A lot of that started happening, like those stories started happening after Travis Walton was abducted, the guy from Fire in the Sky. So if you've ever seen that movie, it is terrifying and it's super interesting, but his story is really weird in that if you don't know the story, basically they were loggers I think they were in Washington State, coming home one night. There were 4 of them in a truck. They saw a light off in the woods, and they're off in no man's land where people aren't. They're up there just doing super, super, super heavy duty logging, and there's not like cities around. They're hours away from a home. They see a light off in the woods. They go investigate it. They see a craft hovering, emitting a yellowish, orangey light. Everybody's kind of freaked out. Travis gets out of the truck because he's super interested. Nothing really happens. The vehicle doesn't move. The craft doesn't do anything. The light keeps going. He steps kind of under and into the light, and something happens to him. He's thrown back. He wakes up on an alien craft. That's his story. The guy's story is he stepped in the light and was gone. They go to the town, tell the sheriff. Everybody assumes they've murdered Travis because this is the middle of the woods, backcountry, hardworking hillbillies, basically, just country guys. One of them's missing. No one's going to believe you saw your buddy get abducted by aliens. It's just not a thing. They interview all the guys. They polygraph them. They try to catch them lying about anything. They can't. Any of them. 3 weeks later, Travis shows up 20 miles outside of town, naked, catatonic, basically. He is conscious, but he can't speak. He's freaked the hell out.
She's in shock.
Basically, yeah, but he's in like severe catatonic shock. So he tells everybody, I was taken on the ship. They were doing stuff to me. They let me go. They brought me back. his story, and none of this has been, again, no one, people can say he's lying. They don't know where he was for 3 weeks. It's just, he was gone. Everybody says the same thing. There's no proof that none of this happened. So his thought on it was they weren't trying to abduct him to do like medical research or to probe him or anything. He thinks they were doing either survey work or like absorbing some sort of energy, and he
got sucked up.
He interrupted them. And what they were doing was it caused so much damage to him when he did that. They were actually trying to repair the damage they did to him from whatever they were doing, and then brought him back after they got done.
It's like an oopsie, I broke the thing in the very nice antique shop trying to glue it back together.
Yeah.
Like how we accidentally hurt a bear.
Yeah.
Let's fix it and put it back out in
Pretty
the wild.
much. That's
Re-release
what
it.
that's what he honestly believes they were trying to do. Like the movie, if you watch it, they play up like the aliens are scary and they're doing work on him and he breaks free and takes over the ship and blah blah blah. But he's like, that was just what they did for the movie. None of that happened. I'm pretty sure they were just trying to fix what they broke and then put me back as close as they thought was reasonable. And that's his whole story, which is, it's a different way to look at it versus aliens abducting, cattle mutilation and abducting people and probing them and dissecting them or whatever. Basically, the way he looks at it is they were refueling and he interrupted that and they were like, oops, let me fix this and put him back.
So these aliens seem kind of wholesome.
I don't know if it's wholesome. You can be I don't think, like, we're looking at it like good or evil, and I don't think that plays out a part of it.
Keep in mind, Hitler was a huge animal advocate and enacted a lot of laws to protect cats and dogs and
That's fair.
stuff.
I mean, you look at stuff like that,
it's
like,
perspective on a.
you don't have to be wholesome if you, like, hurt a deer or whatever. You hit something with your car and you take it to, like, a shelter
That's fair.
at the vet, like, you just didn't mean to kill it.
Well, I think it's interesting that a lot of times when you hear stories about not alien abduction, but just the sightings of it, generally you don't hear about abductions. You generally only hear about you saw something in the sky, you couldn't figure out what it was. It doesn't make any sense. Because we've talked about before, me and Angie, that we've seen stuff in the sky here, and it's like, are we just crazy and think it's an airplane?
Like, we legit saw something one New Year's Eve, and it's like, there was one time over here, like the bowling alley road.
Sure.
And I saw something in the sky, and I pulled over, and literally, like, every car that was on the road at the time, we all pulled over and looked up, like, what the fuck is that? And it was low, and it was like a arrow shaped with lights on the bottom, and then it was just insane. There were a couple of
Arizona lights.
Yeah, and then they were just gone.
Project
I saw it on Chatting
Durango.
Women, and I'm like, oh, so I wasn't I'm not crazy. I was on the phone with Becky. I'm like, I literally just saw this. One time I saw a fireball.
We had
What the hell?
something similar happen in Hartsfield Jackson 6 years ago, because I was still on the ramp. It was night. It was like 7 o'clock, and we're loading a plane, and we hear a bunch of shit come over the radio, and it like, stop. We're shutting down the airport. I'm like, oh, cool. By some asshole going nuts. Like, nope, there's something in the sky, and they don't know what the fuck it is.
Was it the fireball thing?
No, it was. We saw it. It was like a glowing triangle, not like in dots, but like an actual just triangle shape. Like, with color illuminating.
That's funny because it was about that.
Yeah.
It was literally about 6 or 7 years ago. I saw that. I was talking to Becky. I'm like, I gotta pull over.
It's like the advent now of technology, like cell phone recordings and being able to have cameras. Like the idea of these things that we see in the sky that make like the lights that make triangle patterns that just hover for like an hour and then they're just suddenly blink out and they're gone. The idea that part of it is that maybe it's government experimentation, but part of it is very much unidentified, and you just are like, aliens don't exist. To me, it's like, I'd rather believe that they exist than not believe it. And then when Independence Day comes and Will Smith has to save our humanity, then we know that something happened.
Well, and there's so many things actually caught on camera and video that you just can't disprove.
Just like with Bobby's a few years ago, there was one that happened at Chicago O'Hare where they grounded all the planes because there was a UFO hanging out near the airport. And it was they didn't know what it was, and it wasn't responding to anything, and they're like, cool, we can't put anything in the air while this is going on. And it was broad daylight. Like, there are people with cell phone recordings of it, and it's really cool. But, like, I can't imagine a universe this vast where we're the only things in it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine we are also the either most or least advanced things in it. Like, there's a chance, I guess, but I can't imagine as the age of the universe, we are the oldest or we're the youngest. Like, there has to be other things that are, different than us.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, we did Mars rover, but we just sent Mars Perseverance onto Mars. So it's not an unfathomable belief that somebody has figured out how to travel across time and space.
Well, it's
and just imagine if there's life there that's really behind, and they're like, what the? This aliens. Because Perseverance
that's what it is.
Rolling along.
Yeah.
Single-celled life forms, or even if they're multiple-celled, that's just alien life. Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, but you look at how fast our technology has grown from, let's say, 1900 to 2021.
Oh, yeah. It's nuts.
121 years. We've gone from horse and buggy to we just landed on Mars again.
Yeah.
This isn't the first time.
Yeah.
We've done it again. Imagine if there's a civilization of whatever that is sentient that is 1,000 years ahead of us, 5,000 years ahead of us, 100,000 years ahead of us. If they have a way to build technology even similar to the way we do it, they're going to be so far advanced compared to what we have. It's just bananas. And not only that, but they may have resources that are incomparable to what we have here. Like, they may have, getting into the Bob Lazar thing, like stable element 115 that is literally, it creates gravity. Mm-hmm. We can't do that here because we don't have like a binary star system that has heavier elements that are stabilized. They may live in a civilization that does, and to them, steam power may be interesting, but it's the way we did it originally. To them, it may have been like, cool, we can make whatever we want, go wherever we want because we have this rock. Like, and that's just their natural state of being.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do they have memes? Fine. TikTok.
I would like to think that they have little alien cat memes. Like little...
Oh, everybody loves cats. Cats
Yeah.
are alien. Let's be honest.
They're from a different planet. But, okay, so getting into Bob Lazar, for the uninitiated, can somebody explain who Bob Lazar is?
So, this is one of my favorite people. Bob Lazar he's brilliant, but he's worked at Los Alamos in the mid to late 80s. He was recruited to go work at what is called S4 or Groom Lake, which is they're areas that they do testing within Area 51 out in the desert.
Yeah.
Was brought on as a propulsion expert because that's kind of what he did. He put a jet engine on a Honda. He used to build bicycles that had crazy jet engines on them. It's just, he loved
lawnmowers.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
He's crazy, but he loved propulsion.
Yeah.
So they brought him on as a propulsion expert, and basically what he says is his job was they had the motor, basically, the drive of a UFO. His job was to try to back engineer it so that we could build it. The problem with what he was doing was, when they got down to it, was we don't have what made it run, which he said was element 115. Now, when he said this, element 115 did not exist on our periodic table at all.
No.
And had never been considered. We just couldn't, our super colliders were not creating an element that heavy. So when he came out publicly and said, yeah, it's element 115, everybody's like, yeah, that's not a thing. Now it's a thing. We know it's a thing. We haven't been able to create a stable form of it yet, but that doesn't mean it won't happen or that it can't. It just means we haven't. So he worked at S4, Groom Lake. This was the late 80s. Long story short, when you sign up to do these secret programs, you give whoever you're working for permission to spy on you, basically. They can monitor your phones, your email, whatever. The people he was working for found out his wife was having an affair on him with a pilot. He didn't know this, but part of the rules are to do these kind of projects, you have to be stable.
Stable.
Stability is key.
Right.
So they weren't sure if he was going to find out and flip out and do whatever. So basically, they just didn't call him in for work for a few weeks, and they started following him. He noticed them following him, kind of figured out that he hadn't been called in. He pretty much just assumed they were going to kill him, because you just don't get to walk away from these kind of things.
Right.
Like, hey, you get to see these UFOs and these UFO power plants? Yeah, you go back to working at wherever. Who cares? That's not really how they work.
Go back to George Power now.
So what he did was he took him and a bunch of his friends out and watched the UFO test flights, and they recorded some of them. He did this 3 separate times until he was finally caught, and they drug him in to a room, sat him down with somebody, and they asked him, when you signed the paperwork that said you wouldn't tell anybody about this, you do know we meant fucking anybody, right? He was like, oh, yeah. So he was fired. Not murdered at all.
It's like the most boring, like what you don't expect to happen. Like, oh, you're gonna murder him for the secret. And he's like, nah, you just need to go on.
I honestly, I think there's a reason they didn't murder him. And the reason is, I think he snuck some Element 115 out. I think he took a stable form of this stuff out. And it's weird to think about, but basically, if this element can bend gravity, you also control light, space, and time. And if you can control gravity, you are impervious.
Yeah, you're also invisible.
Yeah, they can't. Light bends around it, space and time bend around gravity. You have to think of, and people think of gravity as like this weird force that's just pushing down, but it's a wave.
Yeah.
Gravity is basically a wavelength, and so is light.
That's why I've said on the podcast before, gravity doesn't exist the way we believe it does.
No, it's a wavelength.
Yeah.
Everything is
just
basically
like sound, light.
Yeah. Space, time,
all
everything
manipulates each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they interact with each other, but I think gravity may be the strongest of them all. And because everything bends around it. Nothing bends around time or space.
Right.
And when you think about like the old Marvin the Martian with his disintegration ray,
Yeah.
that's gravity.
Yeah. So I think the reason they didn't murder him was because he took something they really wanted back.
Yeah.
And if they kill him, they don't get it back. And depending on, and I don't know if this was a term back then, if he had a dead man switch with this stuff, that it went public with this element that doesn't exist, blah, 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 what do you do? And they knew he'd been talking to reporters, and you kind of got to let him go and just discredit him, which is what they did. They erased his records of working at Los Alamos. They erased his records of being at MIT. So basically, he's this insanely brilliant scientist who, for years, he couldn't prove he worked at Los Alamos because they erased all his records. And then somebody found an old directory from the years he worked there. His name was in there with his room and phone number. And everything he said that was true was true.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not this kind of propulsion. I mean, he's a propulsion genius. And everybody's like, yeah, he's just a smart guy that puts rockets in things. It's not how this works at all with anything. So
He was really more so the forefront of like modern times, bringing the idea of what happened with alien and UFO and experimentation from the government of what's happening behind the scenes that people weren't aware of. And he was probably one of the first people that people took seriously because he had the receipts, if anything, like legit had receipts of what, I mean, he's like, I know what we did here. I know what happened when I was here. And I know about Element 115, and he's like, this is what we worked on. And it was probably one of the first times, I think, in modern history for alien ufologists and any of that stuff, where people were just like, okay, this guy legitimately is somebody who's not crazy.
he's not a kook.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, he flat out says he wishes he wouldn't have said anything and he would have just kept working.
Yeah.
He said this has made his life a living hell. He doesn't like talking about it. The part that he says bothers him the most is he'll never get back to that, like the cutting edge of technology like that again, because that is beyond magic. It can't exist, but it does. So and like what he said, he's like, I'll never be able to get my hands on that again and toy with it and experiment with it and learn from it. And that's the part he says is like, it just sucks. And it's just
kind of sad. It's because that is something that Element 115 doesn't exist here. It's something that had to have been created.
Man, his wife fucked him up in more ways than one.
Yeah, she ruined everything.
Literally, yeah.
And so even him, like, he flat out said he was working on the secret stuff, and it wasn't. He says he didn't see aliens. What he saw was he was allowed to work on one part of one craft. He said there was one time when he was walking through the hangar and they had all the hangar doors up, because this is like a giant airplane hangar where they house these things. And he could see, he thinks it was about 12 different kinds of crafts. And he said, I had heard from, because he had a partner he was working with, from his partner, at least one of them was dug in an archaeological dig. He's like, I don't know where the rest of them came from. He's like, but one of them was retrieved archaeologically. And ours, we think they had shot down because there was a big, like, blast hole in the side of it. But you don't ask those kind of questions.
Right.
You just do what they tell you.
You just do what they tell you.
He's
and
like,
not
I was
ask.
only allowed to actually touch the thing once. One time they let him get inside to see how basically the engine of it would have worked.
Right, because he needed to see that.
If you're going to figure out how this thing works and how to back engineer it, you
Where
need to
did
see
it sit in the
how's it
craft?
seated.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's no on switch. There's no power source. It is its own power source. It is infinite energy by itself, which is bananas crazy. But even him, like, he doesn't have these weird, outlandish, there were aliens walking around helping us back engineer it, or, this is what I worked on, here's what happened, I'm surprised they didn't kill me.
Yeah. You figure out where it came from because this is just what I know of it.
Yeah. But I really think he snuck some of the 115 out.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's the only thing that could have guaranteed his safety. Was I have this thing you guys want.
Otherwise, he's going to be MK Ultra to death. Like,
Yeah, it's the Nevada desert. You just drag him out 100 miles and shoot him, and you
you
just
went on a-
leave.
yeah.
You don't have to bury the body.
we didn't even know where he
The
went.
thing about like the whole government experimentation with UFOs, if you look at historically how they talk about it, they don't ever completely deny the existence of UFOs. They may deny like say something that fell out of the sky and everybody thinks it's a UFO. They say no, it's like a weather balloon. That might be a denial of it, but you've never heard them outright say there's no such thing as aliens. We don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. It's very much a gray area where it's like, there's stuff, but we can't talk about it.
Back last year when the stimulus package was being passed and Congress included the addendum for the UFO files to be released,
Yeah.
what they think is that they're afraid it's another government's technology. That's why advanced of ours. So you still have this, we're not admitting, but then on the other side, the Department of Defense is like, I think it might be. Yeah.
Well, the DoD has to look at it like, if this is someone else's technology here on Earth, we need it so we can at least stop it from there.
Right.
Right.
Because it's so much more advanced
terrifying.
than ours.
Yeah.
Right. And we do know that Hitler, this was one of his big things, was building UFOs.
Right.
The
Like,
Bell.
Yeah, reverse engineering. And he did have some test flights that, I mean, they didn't really go far.
No.
But the fact that they did go up at all.
You say that, but I mean, that was the mid-40s. The 60s, we were landing on the moon.
Right.
That's not a huge gap. 20 years, man.
Yeah.
20 years.
And did you know that we took Hitler's scientists and
Yeah.
then suddenly we got there? There were huge advances.
Well, there's a thing not a theory online that we found something around that time, a UFO, and all these technological advances you had in the last 50, 60 years are from that.
Everybody assumes it came
spacecraft.
from Roswell,
Yeah.
from the crash in 47. Supposedly there were 3 bodies recovered from the Roswell crash. One was
living.
supposedly alive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about Roswell. I don't know if it was what they said it was or whatever. I do believe Bob Lazar. I do believe Travis Walton. I do believe one of the other ones that I really believe is Captain Fravor. Captain Fravor was a FA1 Super Hornet pilot. He is one of the guys who captured the Tic Tac UFO video. This is a gentleman he's been in the military for 24 years. He's been an elite pilot for 18 of those years. Graduated from Top Gun, has every literal pilot accommodation you can get. They're out one day out off the coast of San Diego running, basically, they're playing war games. They have 2 Marines going out, and they have Captain Fravor and one of his guys going out, and they're in the Navy. And they're basically going to try to intercept and see how, just run a scenario as to if there was a dogfight, how we would handle it. The Marines are supposed to go about 100 miles out. Captain Fravor and his guy are supposed to go about 60, and then they're supposed to kind of engage and see what happens. And these aren't like live fire exercises because no one wants to die playing a war game. Well, they get up.
This is not Ender's Game.
Yeah, and this is all just a really short version of this, but you can go look at Captain Fravor has a ton of interviews. He has the video. You can go look at all of this. He gets a call from the operations center of, I think it's the Nimitz is out there. It's one of the carriers. Messages him, says, "Hey, we're gonna cancel this war game. We're gonna send you about 40 miles past where you're supposed to be meeting them. We're going to have, it's called a real world vector. You're going to intercept something we've been following for 2 weeks. They're like, we keep seeing them every so often. They'll drop out of the sky, hang out for a couple hours, and then leave." He's like, "We want you to go put eyes on it." So he's like, okay. They take off, him and his the wingman, the other guy, take off. They get to where they're supposed to intercept whatever this is, and they don't see anything for a minute. They look down, and there's something hovering above the water. And it is white, and it's making like a cross shape back north, south, east, west, but it's doing it really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And underneath it are white caps. So where like if you go to the ocean, you see the water breaking over rocks, you see that white foam. Those are the whitecaps. Well, they're in the middle of the ocean, and there are no whitecaps, but there are whitecaps beneath this thing. Mm-hmm. And so they're about 20,000 feet above it. It's sitting, they think, about 80 feet off the water. Like, it's low. For a flying object, a helicopter, that's god-awful low.
Yeah, especially over the water like
80
that.
80 feet over the water is low, especially when you're flying 1,000 feet over the water looks like 10 feet over the water.
Yeah.
It's really similar, to view. So, basically what happens is Fravor decides he's going to fly, he's going to go down, intercept it. The other guy, his wingman, is going to stay up high so they can basically watch it from two separate angles. Mm-hmm. So Fravor starts his descent and he's basically, and this isn't like a straight down. You're in an airplane, you're circling around, slowly descending because, again, you can make a huge mistake over water that is you can't recover from. You just
die. Crosswinds and you can't see it. Really.
Absolutely.
Because, like you said, there shouldn't be white caps out there
at all. Mm-hmm. So he descends to it. As he's descending, he gets to somewhere between 16,000 and 18,000 feet. It stops moving. It aligns himself towards him and looks at him, and it starts ascending towards the way he's descending. So it's like it's going to meet him. Yeah. He describes it as it's a white, the shape of a Tic Tac, just kind of like a capsule, thin. He starts descending towards it. It takes off. And by takes off, he means it's just gone. That's not a thing you see too often.
No.
Something that is physically affecting the world around it that is just no longer there. So they kind of freak out a little bit, and he's like, that's really weird. This is, again, he's been a pilot for a long time, so I'm sure he's seen a lot of weird things. They go back, they start heading back to the ship, because whatever they were trying to intercept,
it's gone.
There's no intercepting.
Yeah. And gone in a creepy way.
Yeah.
Let's get back.
He says once it leaves, they start taking off. His command center calls him, the operations center or whatever, says, hey, Captain Fravor, that thing you were following just showed up where you were supposed to meet the Marines at. So it's 60 miles away. He says it's maybe the space of a minute. They didn't track it. It was just there. Like they said, it just showed up. So they don't know if it flew or just
like a teleportation.
Teleported
or like just bent time.
Yeah, whatever.
I was here, now I'm here.
But it went to exactly where you're supposed to meet the Marines, which was really weird. And so they have video of this. They have FLIR video, which is forward-looking infrared, so you can see it. They have black and white TV. So a lot of these, especially the newer badass airplanes, have all kinds of infrared, TV video recordings, thermal. Like they can see in a bunch of different ways to lock onto targets. So they go back to the ship because again, these things they're airplanes. They have very limited fuel. If you run out of fuel,
you're gonna die.
You fall to the earth. Like that's just how it is. You're fighting gravity. They get ready to send up when he's going back. They're getting ready to send up another interceptor, basically, to go see what's going on. And in the process of getting ready to go send that one up, apparently the thing drops from 80,000 feet to their best guess is 1 foot off the water.
Holy shit.
And I don't mean like flies down less than a second. It is just there to there. And that is, when I say not possible, I mean really not possible.
Yeah.
I mean, 80,000 feet it's a little bit over 15 miles. Even if we give them a full second, if it takes them a full second to move 15 miles.
Yeah, gravity has a law, and that completely broke it.
I mean, I can do the math super quick.
Like a feather and a kettlebell fall at the same rate.
Yeah.
It's gravity. So
if you give them the full second, that is 54,000 miles an hour is what they fell at.
Jesus Christ.
To put that in perspective, the terminal velocity of a falling person is like 122 point whatever, 6. Mm-hmm. But this thing moved literally at 54,000 miles an hour. That's
light speed.
It's not quite light speed, but it's beyond whatever we have. Like, there's just nothing, there's no propulsion. And even if there were, the ability to move that fast and stop, because it also didn't crash into the water.
You would disintegrate yourself.
Yeah, you pull in so many G's, so it can't be, it traveled that fast. It just was.
Like, if you're organic, you're done. You don't exist anymore.
It's just pulling too many G's. Like, I can't even imagine 100,000 G's like that. Like you pull 9 G's kills most people. Like you pass out and can't breathe. There's no way. And they have it on film, and the government released it and said, hey, we don't know what this is. That is the Tic Tac. You can go watch the video of it. It's super cool. You can go watch them lock onto it and it fly around, and it's interesting. And you listen to Commander Fravor.
Strange.
This seems like a reasonable human being who is not
crazy.
Well, his big thing is he doesn't care that it was UFO. He wants to fly it.
Oh,
he's like, I want to fly something that can do that.
Yeah. That's like you just put in a coordinate and it just goes doot doot.
Well, yeah, it's just there. It's just like, oh, what's up? I'm here now.
Now I'm in the U.S. Now I'm in China.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really.
Yeah. Now I'm on Venus.
I mean, 54,000 miles an hour is what that calculated speed is. That's what America's 3,000 miles across at the most. 2 minutes across the U.S. at that speed. I mean, all the way across.
And what did they? It was there and then it was just gone.
So apparently, when he started talking to the commanders or the operators on the Nimitz, they've been tracking these things for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They knew they were out there, and this is not an uncommon occurrence.
Right. The Tic Tac style UFOs go back as far as like we can take pictures.
They knew they were there. They
Right.
just didn't know what they were, and they just since they don't engage, they kind of ignore them. They're just like, nah,
They're
whatever.
just like, hey, it's another weird blip in our radar.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I had a friend, and Angie's talked about this too, that I had a friend who worked in the Air Force, and he was a similar circumstance where he worked as he wasn't an intercept. I just don't remember what he did. But it wouldn't be uncommon that during a flight simulation or any sort of practice, he's like, there's another thing out in the sky that they don't know what it is, but they were told do not engage with it until we know what it is exactly.
Yeah, and that's part of the rules they took. And that second guy, once Fravor had landed, when they were sending the second guy up, he locked onto it with his FLIR, his forward-looking infrared, and whatever it was started jamming his radar. And jamming radar is an act of war.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that if someone locks onto you from wherever. If it's in the air and you start jamming what we're trying to see, that is technically an act of war.
Right. It means you're hiding some bullshit.
Yeah. But, again, we still did not engage it because...
You just don't know.
Well, not only that, but, like, it's not doing anything harmful as best we can tell.
Right.
Maybe
and
don't...
I'm going to shoot a missile and it just disappears.
Yeah.
What am I going to shoot?
The thing is, you can't... Even if you want to engage it, you can't, because... If it can travel that fast.
Right.
Well, imagine what kind of weapons it has.
I was about to say, you don't know, like, we already are, we're in an unfathomable situation where this thing is moving so quickly, and it's obvious its technology is more advanced. Do you think a fucking missile is going to hit that shit?
So here's what I will say. I don't believe they are like the 1950s sci-fi where they are armed with, like, weapons.
True. Some of them might just be, like, research vessels.
Well, I think they're beyond weapons. I don't think it matters... If you shoot a missile at it, if they can
blink
gone.
out of reality and just come back wherever they want, they don't need weapons.
We look at it as speed, but I don't think it's moving that fast. I think it just like,
it just is.
I'm going.
It stepped outside of time and just came back.
It just bends. Basically, I think they create their own wormholes that they just step across.
Oh, I guess that's true. Because, I mean, at that point, do you need a weapon if all you can do is blink out of existence and come back?
I can come up behind you in the space it takes you to lock on to me.
Nothing personal, kid.
I just want to, like, put in perspective when we think of gods and god beings. If you can step outside of time, you're immortal.
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
No, I want it. Take me with you.
Well, and the thing is, like, we always talk about the aircraft situations, but what I find more terrifying are the underwater crafts that they can't identify. Yeah. Those were the ones me and Angie have talked about several times that we're like, how we cannot study because they're so far down, we can't find them.
So here's what I'll tell you. If you are able to control gravity, it doesn't matter if it's underwater or not.
Right.
Yeah. We're looking at it as it needs to be two separate vehicles when it very much does not.
No.
It doesn't matter at all.
A gravity well at the bottom of the ocean? No.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I'm just
true.
Gonna manipulate it.
But I guess what the circuit, I mean, they very much could be the same crafts. It's just the fact that us humans, it's a much more difficult scenario
it's hard
for us
wrap
to
our minds around it.
or for us to study it.
Oh yeah,
we
they hide
can't
from us there.
You can't get to the Marianas Trench. We can't get to the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
And who would want to?
So you say that, but we also can't grab these things out of the air.
Well, true, but at least we can observe it a lot more easier. In my opinion,
we can see them.
Yeah.
If they want us to see them.
True.
And there's a lot of this activity in the Great Lakes. Matter of fact,
Didn't we do an episode? We did an episode.
Yeah. Canada and the U.S. have like mutual bases just to monitor, especially like Lake Herring. I always want to say herring.
Huron.
Herring. Anyways,
Okay.
but like Prince George's Island, all around that coast, up by Iceland and Greenland, there's a lot of activity. Even Christopher Columbus saw it.
Well, I look at like, and this is just how my mind works. I look at the Travis Walton Fire in the Sky situation. Like, he really believes they were there absorbing whatever energy source. I look at like the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Anunnaki story where they came down and basically made humans as miners for gold. We were basically slaves
I was
to
just
mine
about
gold.
to say that. I bet if they had dug over there, they would have found gold.
Yeah, I wonder if that's connected.
Yeah.
Oh, probably. I mean,
And why would we value gold so highly?
Yeah, it's a
Like,
weird thing.
it's stupid.
I mean, we've talked about this, but theoretically, there is an argument to be made that the idea of the existence of gods
Sure.
are not the existence of these omnipotent beings that just exist and they're just like the spiritual whatever, that these are actually aliens that somehow came down. I mean, we've talked about this. There's caveman sketchings of what look like ships coming down from the sky. I mean, we talk about it in the Bible, things that came from the sky and taught us fire, taught us how to advance, taught us how to do that. So it's not such an uncommon idea that possibly what we're looking at is what we know to be religion and all of that, is that maybe it's just these very advanced civilizations coming down and being like, hey,
Well, you look
here's
at
fire.
You look at the Egyptians, you look at the Olmecs, and you look at like ancient Sumeria, and even on their drawings they had, and they described them as beings that came and taught us civilization. They taught us agriculture, taught us how to do these things, and all of them carry like there's a weird bag that all of them carry that's really interesting. That, I mean, you're talking civilizations across the world that all describe the same exact thing and the same exact like accoutrement.
Right.
Like they have this one bag and all of them carry it, and that part's super interesting to me. Like, how did these three, I mean, separated by thousands of years and tens of thousands of miles civilizations come up with the same exact diagram?
I think my interest in anything regarding like alien or UFO or anything like that isn't so much scientific, but how it like historically relates back to our existence. Like the idea that like the Nephilim, for example, the idea that the Nephilim were considered angels but might just be aliens that came down from the sky and taught us advanced civilization. And it's mentioned in 3 sentences in the Bible.
So
that's it.
The Nephilim were supposedly, they're the offspring of the aliens and the humans, or
right?
The gods and the humans, angels and humans, whatever you want to call them. They're the others and people. For the sons of God so loved the daughters of man and found them beautiful, they had children with them, and those offspring are the Nephilim, the giants, the titans of old. Those are, and again, when you start screwing with DNA, weird stuff happens sometimes. Like, it is what it is.
That's when you get.
I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying that is even biblically, there are cases of this.
Yeah,
these giant.
The
people.
sons of God so love the daughters of man.
Yeah,
like, that's just whatever.
And they do, and not only that, but it also talks about in the
Epic of Gilgamesh, the Anunnaki.
Yeah, but the ones before Genesis, what are those called? The Enochian.
The Enochian verses.
The Enochian verses. It talks about how we were like feral. We were feral critters, and the things that were put on Earth to watch us, so the Watchers, took pity on us. So, like on Discord, and one of my gaming tags is Betrayal, Btryal. Betrayal took pity on women, especially how women were treated even back then. We were abused, and he showed people how to use fire. He showed women how to bathe and beautify themselves to be more attractive.
Well, I wonder, like,
and how
you look
to be
at
seducers.
A lot of these old stories, like you have the Great Deluge stories, the Great Flood in the Bible. I mean, every culture has their huge flood myth. You look at Prometheus bringing fire to man.
Yeah.
People always assume he just brought them fire, but he also taught them
how to cook.
Well, that, and the part everybody overlooks is he taught them war. I wonder if that's not metallurgy. I wonder if that's not teaching them how to build things out of weapons out of metal instead of stones and spears.
And it probably was, let me teach you how to hunt so you can feed yourselves.
Yeah. Well, and that's
here's
part
how
of
you cook your food so you don't die from worms.
The civilization stories. Like, here's agriculture, here's how you build things that survive.
Then we realize why we were kept feral, because we aren't capable of being advanced. We're going to kill each other.
And if you look at it, if you look at most religious or origin stories for humans in any region, they're all very similar in a circumstance. If you look at it, you have Greek mythology that's very similar, Norse mythology, and even if you look at Egyptian, you can compare Egyptian mythology to Christian beliefs now, because they're all very similar. And that part of that is adapting those stories to fit whatever narrative you want. But the fact is that these stories that were all very much like Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology, those civilizations existed at about the same time.
Yeah, pretty much have the same creation story.
Yeah, then they have the same creation story, and there was not a lot of overlap at that point for them to have that. So where would that have come from otherwise?
I tend to believe there were, and my thought is this is cyclical. You look at like out of place artifacts and they find weird Viking stuff in like Nebraska or whatever. I'm not saying they didn't travel. I think this has all been done before. A lot of this anyways. I think whenever there is a huge cataclysm like the Great Ice Age or the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs or whatever, we kind of get to start over.
Yeah.
And I look at how many generations of after a huge asteroid would it take us to not be able to build, this microphone? Is it one? Because I bet it's less than one.
Yeah, I bet it's forgotten in the lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, because it becomes not
we never knew
necessary.
it.
Well, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You
And
know what's
paper
necessary?
becomes
Food.
more valuable.
Yeah.
I'm actually reading a book right now called "Dies the Fire," and what happens is there's this event. It's just a white light, but it takes out everything that can produce kinetic energy. The highest energy level you can produce is fire. So it just takes everybody back. And the main character is like, he's thinking about it, and he's like, I bet in our lifetime we're gonna forget how to.
Because none of it will matter.
It doesn't matter because it doesn't help you survive this knowledge base.
That's
And
it.
he's like, books are way more valuable for other things. So one of his big things is try and salvage a library. So in the future, like
We don't forget.
10 generations down, there's a library saved.
Well, it's like even on your base day, like think about it. If you, let's say I was thinking about this today, like changing jobs. I used to do specifically dependency work for like civil dependency work for kids. Now I do criminal work. I haven't used most of that stuff for 2 years. I couldn't remember half of the stuff I did. It's just when you don't need it anymore, it's just something that's shuffled away in your brain and it's gone. So if you don't need the existence of our technology, you don't need Wi-Fi because you're just trying to live on a basic survival. What is it to remember it at that point?
Right. And in this book, like cars and technology like this becomes invaluable in making
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
like swords and chainmail back to the medieval age. And you know who like really succeeds are the Renaissance reenactors. The people who know how to sword fight, and they become highly valued people, and they're actually leading clans because they know how to do this. Or organic farmers.
Well, I think about, you look at like the Antikytherian mechanism.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Like, it's technically the first computer, and they think it was for ship's navigation, and they don't know how many of them existed or how they built them, and it's a lost technology. But realistically, the little ice age happened supposedly after that. That becomes kind of worthless. If you don't need to navigate oceans if everything's
You can't
frozen.
even get across the
That's
ocean.
right. Yeah.
You know what's important? Food.
Yeah.
I need to find things that'll grow in the cold. I need to be able to hunt things that I can eat in the cold.
Exactly.
There'd be legitimately one person who'd care about hair products, and it's just Bobby.
Probably like, but I need hairspray. Let's keep going, guys.
Yeah,
Come
I'll
on.
just go to find the nearest.
Bobby's the first one dead if the shit goes awry.
Guaranteed.
Like, it's not close.
Like I can't go a day without fucking coffee. I'm not gonna survive, and I'm gonna off myself. Like, I'm not gonna die. I'm just gonna fucking take a bunch of pills and have a good time, and good night.
Yeah.
Because I know.
See you on the flip side.
Pretty much. I don't want to live in that hell. Fuck that noise.
Yeah.
But I do look at, like, if this is all cyclical like that, and we've been doing this for a long time, the only way these stories would come down is through oral tradition of people having been told. Because you can't write it down. You can't store it in the cloud. Because we have one big solar flare. The cloud doesn't matter anymore.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that's gone.
It's actually kind of terrifying thinking about all of my D&D notes just being gone.
What's that shit? It's not a solar flare. It's like the more extreme where it's just like a gamma ray burst. That happens. We're all just fucking dead. It don't matter.
Listen, we're like, what?
And it happens a lot. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, it hasn't.
Aren't we
Yeah.
like 6 years out from a asteroid hitting us anyway? So
It happens pretty consistently.
well, like a
Just
major
nothing.
asteroid event.
And, you know, the fucking super volcano underneath Yellowstone's fucking been delayed by like 50,000 years.
True.
It's like 800,000 years overdue.
Yeah, that'll kill us and that'll
That's
kill us
why when
in
it
here.
blows, we're gone.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
dead.
whatever.
We're just
Yeah.
evaporated in.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't worry about that kind of stuff because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I will never know it happened, and I just
Yeah.
won't be here.
Well, no, we will know because we're not close enough. What we're going to die from is the ash cloud that blocks out the sun.
When it goes, we are definitely hot enough to be scorched into nothing. It's gonna
I think
create.
they did. There was a simulation. There used to be a show on the History Channel that talked about like major world disasters of what would happen. And the map shows that we will get hot, but it won't be something to the extent that we will, like, it will kill us.
Like it'll blister us.
It'll blister
And
us, but what's
horrifying
going to
death.
happen is it's going to be the ash cloud that settles down after it blows. Within 6 months, we will all be dead because we won't be able to
Grow food.
Well, we won't be able to survive because we won't have the sun, basically. Yeah. So, and that's throughout the North American part, and I think the only
Steal a boat.
It was like Australia was like the only one that had kind of a chance.
Yeah, they said
Or
the ash
New
cloud
Zealand or
by
Australia,
I think they said like by a year after it, most of the Earth will be covered in an ash cloud.
There was like a tiny little part.
That show was scary, but let me tell you, it was
It's
interesting.
probably there will be the people who come back and they don't really know our history, so you get these oral
Or the
traditions.
underground people that Charles Manson was looking for. They're going to come out.
or the
mole
reptilians will be like, it's our time.
Well, you look at like supposedly there have been times when we had huge famines and stuff way back when the population of Earth dropped to 21 people.
Yeah.
We're still here. We're still doing this thing.
Listen, I-
Fucking
Somehow.
bunny rabbits, man.
Listen, I said before, I think part of the reason for the existence of COVID is that we're overpopulated. So the Earth is like, hey, you know what generally gets rid of a lot of people? Pandemics. But the problem is we're too advanced at this point for...
We lost 500,000 people in America. We just passed that mark from COVID. I don't think we're that advanced.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like you're not seeing the same number. We were able to identify it early
it's not
on
the
enough to
Spanish
know
flu.
what it is, and like or the Black Plague where everybody's just kind of like it's God punishing us. Meanwhile, it's like a rat is running across your head while you're talking about this.
But no, I think if they created us Anunnaki style, there came a point where they're like, all right, these are some pretty crazy monkeys. I'm gonna stop trying to use them. We try to teach them civilization.
We gotta go,
and-
man.
yeah.
These people are not
Like,
going
we're
to
gonna get it right one day.
Yeah, one day, but this not
pretty
this
obvious.
day.
Well, and it
I
may
mean-
have been somewhere else.
like the
Yeah.
ship that had like all animals in twos. Like, of course, it's a genetic ship.
Yeah.
What do you? It's not a real boat. Do you know how big that fucking boat would have to be?
So not only that, it's
Size of the fucking ocean. But also, how do you get all the animals in the world on a boat? They're not all there on the boat.
well, it's not only 2 by 2. They also took 7 of each feed animal because everything else had to eat, including the people.
Yeah.
So it's not we have 14 million animals on here. It's we have 60 million animals on here. And
Yeah.
again, I think that's a transfer of information a different way. Like maybe there was not a giant boat with a bunch of animals on it. Maybe there was a great flood that they are trying to pass down that yes, this happens sometimes. Sometimes there are huge worldwide disasters that if you're not prepared for, you were going to die.
Yeah.
Well, when they talk about this flood, if you read some of the older texts, it also talks about the fire that came before it, and how the key to that flood was destroying a demonic race, a race of Nephilim that were way overpowering people and the Watchers. They had to get rid of them because they were beyond powerful. They had powers. They
Cool.
were advanced, and we can see those bones. Like even here in the U.S., they dig up these enormous giant bones.
Do you think they like to cuddle?
Well, they're redheaded, so I doubt it. I'm just kidding.
Oh snap! Damn! Ooh, girl.
Filthy gingers. They did just uncover a bunch, and I use this term loosely, but a bunch of giant bones in China. And I say giant, they're all like 7 foot tall, which is, again, not insane, but for thousands of years ago,
That's
that's huge. That's
Yeah.
big now,
Yeah.
much less thousands of years ago in China.
So you're saying Yao Ming's a Nephilim?
I think that may be more of a genetic anomaly than a burial tomb with a bunch of giants in
Well,
it.
and I mean, here's another theory just thrown out that we've heard before is that the existence of the Sasquatch, they're actually alien beings.
Yeah, okay, there was a
I'm
lot.
out on that.
There was a lot of information, and That lady who presented it actually works with.
She's a ufologist with
MUFON.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gigantopithecus, and they can kick rocks with this alien bullshit.
It's crazy that there's always the sightings coincidentally. And like the one that happened in Pennsylvania, they literally saw the Sasquatches coming out of the shit. I don't know. I believe everything.
I'm out.
My idea about that was
Drugs? No. Was it drugs?
always.
God damn it, Chris! I don't know hallucinogenics that much. Anywho, it's mostly cocaine. My theory about that is that aliens, grays, whatever, like they just do the whole. They just happen to make themselves look like Bigfoot because Bigfoot's kind of scary and people don't fuck with it that much.
I guess it's possible. And we haven't even talked about the whole
Should
like
determine.
identification of what an alien is, but
That'll have to be for another episode.
that'd have to be. Yeah, there's a lot to UFOs.
No shit.
There are, and I think most of it is people's psyche.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of, and I'm not saying anybody is wrong. What I'm saying is a lot of this is either dreams or hallucinations from people. And I think when you get into like, when you start talking about what people see when they take DMT and they see the machine elves, the small gray aliens, I think a lot of the people that describe that are basically dreaming or hallucinating, or they've unlocked like huge serotonin amounts in their brain somehow, and they're seeing what people see on DMT. And it's just one of those weird coincidences that
DMT is interesting. I'm just gonna say that.
But I think that's what a lot of that descriptor is. And I don't know if it's a future version of us where we've evolved past the need for like anger and facial features, and we're basically one big gray race. I don't know. I just think
I
that
really would not like to be a blob just one day.
Or maybe it's the past, because here's the thing, like our bodies are just organic computers. Everything we've experienced all the way back to our first ancestor is written in our DNA. Like
the sphere of fire.
Yeah, you can so when we go into this,
state.
soul journey,
Yeah.
we could possibly be seeing something way in the past.
Maybe. I don't
we just
think
we don't know.
I'd just rather not be primordial soup. I'm good.
I just think
Yeah,
when
me
people,
neither.
a lot of people describe like the 3-foot grays or whatever, it's what a lot of people see on DMT. And I think it may be more of your brain creating it scenario than all these people have been actually abducted. I can't imagine a race that is that far advanced that they have this sort of technology.
Yeah, that they have to literally take us and probe us.
I need you to come on my ship and take a look at something.
They can fucking scan you from Mars, okay?
Well, I'm about to say, if you are, and not saying that they're all the same, but like if you're
you're racist.
I know, my bad, or I'm an alienist.
Speciesist.
You have a species that it can move space and time and blink out of existence. Why the fuck do they need to come pick you up and put like a thing up your butt?
There's
want
an
cuddles.
idea that there are like warring alien species, and part of that, unfortunately, it's taken place here. So you had the grays, the whites, and the other color. But the whites are the big tall ones that are very
the big
violent
boys.
and aggressive. And the grays and the other ones are trying to stop them, which I kind of like this idea because it's fun. It's fun to read about.
This may need to be
terrifying.
This may need
But the lights over Phoenix, that's what that was.
I was about to say, you may need to like have an episode about it, because as much as I've heard about it, I kind of like tune it out.
Well, if we
because
do
I'm
the
like, that's a
Phoenix
little
lights,
strange.
that's exactly what it was. They were being attacked by the whites, and the grays showed up to help them.
Those fucking honkies, man. They're the
I know.
worst.
And it's always
Everywhere
Arizona.
we go, man. Fucking
Always
white
Arizona.
people.
They're like, man, that desert, good
I think
battlefield.
it's like green, white, and gray were the colors.
Oh.
I'm like reptilians. What are you doing here? Get
Angie's
back
whole
down.
thing is that it's all reptile people.
Well,
It could be.
what about the kids that showed up from underground?
From Nibiru.
Okay, now my thing is, if we get reptiles, then what are the BKs? What are those? Black-eyed kids? Come
Yeah.
on. Those
Like
things are
children.
Those things
Yeah,
are
I
terrifying.
really want to do an episode on that, but I'm scared of it.
I'll do
Black
it.
Eyed
But I want
Children?
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
down.
love
Yeah,
it.
why not?
Yeah.
Love it.
Like, they come knock
Especially
on your
because
door.
I think I saw one
Yeah.
time.
All they do is knock on your door. You say, no, fuck off, bye, close it. And you can't come in. Suck my dick. Actually, no, that's pedophilia, sorry.
Yeah. That's also how you get rid of vampires.
They don't
You
just
just
come
do-
to your
you just do
house
this,
now.
and they
Now
come-
they come like to your window in a parking lot and can you give us a ride?
No,
Fuck
fuck
off.
No,
You
I'm not.
piece-
I'm not an Uber.
You
You,
know
got
what-
money?
Why are you 7 outside at 2 a.m.?
So I'll go ahead and tell you, they're stupid.
Yeah.
Because I'd be doing this if I was a black-eyed child on Halloween.
Yeah.
Candy?
Can I use your bathroom? I really have to pee. And
I'm in! Piss
Yeah.
outside.
I'm just dressed like Wednesday.
Yeah.
Pee outside like a savage.
Is it bad? I don't know a lot about black-eyed children.
Yes, because I
I-
talk about it a lot. It is bad.
No. The only thing you've ever said is black-eyed children scare the shit out of me.
I've
Children
shown
in
you
general.
pictures.
Yeah, you showed me pictures. I'm talking about like the whole
I've told you
idea.
stories.
I think they're just trickster spirits. I think a
Probably.
lot of these are just like
Oh, I'm totally down.
tricksters. I'm sorry, CIA. We didn't mean to break out your secrets.
But here we are.
I'll shut up if you find me a wifey that will cuddle with me, not want kids.
Good luck.
I have
Find
alien
you a-
blood.
Find you a white one.
It's literally classified.
Doesn't have to be
as
white. I don't
alien
care.
blood.
I've dated all types of women. It don't matter to me.
Even a gray little miniature
Can she suck dick?
alien coming after you. Don't they not have any like descriptive features?
Supposedly they have like a little tiny little mouth. But
Yeah, that's all I need. My penis is small.
you know how big Bobby's wiener is gonna look at her tiny little hands?
And I love, once again,
Like Ron Jeremy.
we have such a deep, in-depth conversation, and yet somehow we end up back where we start. Bunch of fucking
It's a
dumbasses.
fucking full rotation, baby.
Oh, God. Suck the...
Hey, Becky.
Does it have a
No.
tuxedo on it?
Hey, Becky.
No.
Where can they find us?
Oh, my God. Yeah. You
You
cannot...
can find us in Bobby's butt.
I was about to say, anally probing.
Not all of us.
No.
Just in
Yeah.
case you were curious.
Chris is just filming.
Andrew's a bro. That's all.
Yeah.
Just trying to help a bro out.
I'm gonna help a bro out.
You can find us on Facebook at The Free Rotation Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at The Free Rotation. We're also on YouTube and Twitch at The Free Rotation. You can also find us on all of your favorite podcast apps. Check us out at Spotify, Stitcher,
Pornhub.
Not Pornhub.
YouPorn. RedTube.
We're affiliates of Weeby Geeks. Check out all the other great podcasts at WeebyGeeksPC.com. And you can find our backlog and our new stream schedule. Oh my God, it's happening on TheFreeRotation.com.
Just wait till my new Dojin comes out.
I know your secret.
What?
You got breakfast and didn't bring me anything.
You bitch.
Items in order 3, Becky.
Yeah. Becky?
Chocolate croissant.
I did grab a chocolate croissant, but you never want anything.
I like croissants.
I would have gotten you a croissant.
Did you though?
Angie, did she ask you if you'd love a chocolate croissant?
No.
No, she doesn't like chocolate croissants.
Becky.
even ask.
Becky. This is terms for divorce.
Do you know how many times I've asked her if she wanted breakfast and she said no?
She wants your booty.
I say yes every time.
I gave you breakfast
She wants-
earlier.
Oh.
Bye, everybody.